Chapter 16, short-term financial planning. This chapter now talks about the financial plan less than 1 year. So this is not about like the long-term project. This is about the really cash inventory, like the any type of the working capital management related financing issue. So this chapter and the next chapters will talk about the short-term issues in financial management. So this is about the net working capital. Now this actually starts from the total asset equals to total liability plus the equity, right? And we have the current asset and current liability and total asset and current liability, and I'm sorry, the fixed asset. And current liability is a long-term debt in the liabilities, right? So it really, we can rewrite these actually that current asset plus the fixed asset equals to current liability plus long-term debt plus equity. So really net working capital is current asset minus current liability equals to net working capital. So this is net working capital, right? And plus fixed asset equals to, now we can actually move current liability to the left side, so long-term debt plus equity. Now the net inside the current asset, we have current asset equals to cash plus other current asset, right? So this is current asset and current liability. That's the net working capital. So the cash equals to, we can actually just plug this one to all here. So long-term debt equity plus current liability minus current asset other than cash minus fixed asset. That will be the cash. So it really starting from everything, like from the total asset plus liability plus equity, and then we just categorize like a divided asset liability in each account, and eventually we can get the cash amount. So there's a source of cash and use of cash in financial management. Source of cash come from the increase in long-term debt. So if we have increased long-term debt, we finance through the long-term debt, so cash increase. Increase equity, obviously same thing. Increase current liabilities. If the current liability increase, then we basically cash is in because we have more cashes now. Decrease current assets, so sell current asset basically increase the cash, and decrease fixed asset, which is the sale of fixed asset, increase cash. Now use of cash, so this is inflow and that's the outflow. For outflow includes a decrease long-term debt, decrease equity, decrease current liability, and increase current asset and increase fixed asset, all use of cashes. So we want to calculate the time required to receive inventory, sell it, and collect receivables, called the operating cycle. So operating cycle is really from the purchase inventory to cash collection. And we basically have pay cash and sales made. Basically calculate these periods, and that's called the operating cycle. So operating cycle really have the two divisions. First one is inventory period. So inventory period is from purchasing inventory to sales made. So that's the inventory period. And from sales made, now we have account receivable. Now we have to collect this account receivable. So that length of time will be the account receivable period. So there are two periods in operating cycle. So the operating cycle equals to this inventory period, account receivable period again, right? So this is purchase inventory, and you pay cash, sales made, and collect cash. And this is inventory period, and this is account receivable period. And inventory period can be calculated by 365 divided by inventory turnover, and inventory turnover will be the cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. That's basically chapter 3 stuff. Account receivable period is the 365 divided by the receivable turnover, and it's called average collection period. So how many days it will take to collect cash from account receivable. Then you can calculate account receivables turnover equals the credit sales divided by average account receivables. Now we can also have another cycle called the cash cycle. So the cash cycle is the cycle from the paying cash to receive cash. So again, if we also have these four, like this is purchase inventory and pay cash, and this is sales made and the collect cash. Now this is cash cycle. And cash cycle is really the total operating cycle minus account payable period, this period. And we have cash cycle. So account payable period is the time between receipt of inventory, so purchase inventory and then paying cash. So cash cycle measures how long it takes to finance inventory and receivables, So this is, now we pay cash, so we don't pay cash this time, but we pay cash, so we need cash before collecting cash, right? So we need finance this period. So cash cycle equation here. Cash cycle is operating cycle minus account payable periods, and account payable period is 365 divided by payable turnover, and payable turnover can be calculated by the cost of goods sold divided by average account payable. So this is again the figures, So this is the inventory purchasing point, this is sales point, and this is collection point, and this is paying cash point. Now this period is inventory period, so we hold inventory for this much, and then this is account receivable period. So after selling inventory, we have to collect cash. Total operating cycle. Now this is the period that does not pay cash yet, so called account payable period. So you have account payable, and you pay cash this point, and then collect cash received. This is called cash cycle. So really, operating cycle is also accounting payable period plus cash cycle too. So this is example. The inventory, beginning inventory 2 million, ending inventory 3 million. So average inventory is 2.5 million. Account receivable, beginning is receivable 1.6 million, ending 2 million. So average is $1.8 million, right? And then payable is 0.75 million, beginning 1 million, ending, so 875,000 average. And net sales is 11.5 million, and COGS is $8.2 million. Now let's calculate. So what about inventory periods? Inventory period can be calculated by 365 divided by inventory turnover, right? So really we need to calculate inventory turnover first. Inventory turnover is the sales divided by average inventory. So cost of goods sold. So this is cost of goods, COGS divided by the average inventory. So COGS is 8.2 million, and the average inventory is 2.5 million, so 3.28 times is the inventory turnover. If we plug this one here, then you have 111 days inventory period. So from purchase inventory to sales, so this is purchase inventory, and there's a sales. This is 111 days. Now calculate the receivable period. Receivable period is also 365 divided by receivable turnover, right? So receivable turnover is a sales divided by average receivable. So sales is 1.15 million from the previous slide here, right? And then 180,000 is the average receivable, so 6.39 days is the receivable period. Now, from sales to made to collect cash, this is collect cash. Now, this is 57 days. So, operating cycle is 111 days plus 57 days, 168 days is the operating cycle. Now, calculate the cash cycle. Cash cycle is account payable period 365 divided by payable turnover. So from purchasing inventory to pay cash, right? So turnover equals to COGS divided by average account payable. So calculate that. That's 9.4 times. So account payable period is 39 days. So it takes 39 days to pay your inventories, right? That's the 39 days. So the cash cycle is your operating cycle, which is 168 days. So total, that's the collect, right? That's 169 days, 8 days, I'm sorry. And payable period is 39 days. So 169 minus 39, which is 129 days. From payment of cash to collecting cash. So this should be financed actually. You don't have cash yet to pay this inventory, so inventory and receivable must be financed for 129 days using the short-term financing. So that's why we need short-term financing.